I love making PowerPoints. It just gives me so much joy to look at colors and select fonts and put them together and deliver a great presentation. And I could probably qualify as a professional PowerPoint maker with a sheer amount of presentations that I've been paid to do. And since we live in a world of Zoom and online meetings, I thought it might be good to share, the process of how I make simple but really beautiful presentations. And as much as I love the artistic side of it, I do think that content is the most important thing. It is the meat of what you are trying to say in your presentation, and that design should only come secondary to that. It should reinforce the message rather than try to take away from it. It should make it easier for your audience to understand what you're trying to say. And this is basically the foundation of what we call visual communication, right? It's the way that we organize and present information in a very visual way that makes it more impactful to convey an idea or a message. And for me, successful presentations are structured in the way that they're grouped logically. It's supposed to be simple and unobtrusive and shouldn't be embellished. And it should be visually harmonious or pleasing to the eye, and you just look at it so much because it's just really nice to look at. And also it should be efficient. Anything that's there that doesn't have a purpose shouldn't be there. And my process is, first I figure out the content, and then I select the design elements, and then I lay them out together. So in terms of the content, I want to make sure that I understand what the topic is and what the key message is. And second, you want to make sure you know who you're presenting it to, because a presentation, let's say a lecture for students, is going to vary differently from a report that you're presenting to a senior executive at a company. And then you also have to know the medium of where you're going to present it. Are you going to present it in a face-to-face setting where you're going to be using a projector? So you might want to use colors that are very compatible or very safe against like hardware failure. And if you're going to be delivering it online, you want to make sure that the font sizes and the proportions that you create are optimized for mobile viewers. And in terms of creating an outline, this is what's going to double as an agenda slide later on. I want to make sure that my outline only has 3 or 4 points. Anything longer than that, I always try to restructure so that at the very beginning of the presentation, you already present to the audience, this is what you are basically going to expect in the next couple of minutes. Once I figure that out, I select a key visual, the colors and the fonts. And a key visual is usually their term for like the main cover image that you use. This is usually what I put in the title slide, and it's supposed to convey the topic of your presentation in just one image. It could be a wallpaper, a photograph, or a clip art. And I usually use these websites to get royalty-free images that I don't have to steal. If I use like Google Images, lifting photographs and artwork of other people without their permission is not the most ethical thing to do. So I just go to these websites to get inspired basically by the images there. And once I have my key visual, I select the different colors. I usually get one accent color that stands out for my highlights. And then I select the main color that's usually black, white, or gray, depending on what contrasts the best against the background. And then I select a font. These are the different typefaces. I usually use a sans serif as my main font for the body of text. And then I use a serif or script or handwriting kind of font to highlight certain things or be the header. A serif is basically those things that you see at the end of each stroke. And these are your Times New Roman, your Cambria, very formal. And then I think these two are quite playful. And then this is just like simple, basic Tahoma, Arial, Verdana, and so forth. And after I've selected all of those, that's the time that I lay it out together and I create just 3 slides. I create a title slide, an agenda slide that also doubles as a divider, and then I do a content slide where most of the information gets presented. So let's try to make one right now. For example, you've been tasked to create a social media report. What I would do is to basically get my outline together, and after that, I search for images. I go to freepik.com, search for social media, and then I include this keyword called isometric, which is basically a type of illustration that's just extremely sleek, 2D, and very colorful. And then I try to select one that I think would be really cute. So for example, I use this, I download it, and then I paste it on my presentation. But the thing is, you only want this particular part. How are you going to get rid of all of the text without actually photoshopping it? Pretty easy. So you want to make sure that you resize your image to fill the slide. I try not to resize small images, so I try to look for bigger images in the first place. So what I'm going to do next is isolate the image and basically crop out the text, duplicate the image, Control-C, Control-V, or Control-D, and then flip the duplicate horizontally and position it so that you create a mirror image of the key visual, right? And then the next thing I do is crop it again to exclude any kind of graphics so that I'm just focusing on the negative space, and then I stretch it out again. What? So now you basically have a blank canvas. If this happens, you can just nudge it a little bit to the right and then readjust it to fill the slide. And there you have it. To get rid of this hamburger menu, you try to duplicate it again, and you're basically trying to get, sections of the image that are usable. And it's the same thing like that. You can't even see the difference, right? So you basically created the background of your title slide. And the next thing I do is insert a text box for the title. Just gonna say social media. And then I'm going to make it white first just to make it visible. And then I'm going to put here, amazing report for 2020. Of course, you need to refine the way that you phrase these things if you're even allowed to do something like that. And then usually this is the part where I try to figure out what font works best with a theme. Since this is a little bit playful and a little bit flexible in terms of, how informal it could be, I usually use this script font called Yellowtail, and then I just set it to 44 and then align it here. And then I usually just use a serif font for any kind of subtitle. I love Roboto because you can get a thin version of it, so it's a little bit more modern right now. And then I would just duplicate that if I want to put my name here, or my team name, and the date, right? And then I want to make this a little bit smaller, like a 10. And then I just put this on bold. And then if you need to put a logo, I'm just going to copy this from here of your company. You want to make sure that it contrasts nicely from the background. So what I do is I typically get either a white version of the logo if it exists, and then just apply a recolor here, format options, and then recolor it. But make sure that you are allowed to make the logo white in the first place, and if that's okay with branding guidelines. So you've just successfully made your very own and very first really cute as hell title slide. And then if you want to be a little extra and want to highlight this in a different color, I typically match it with whatever colors exist here. On PowerPoint, you basically have an eyedropper tool, but on Google Slides, you don't have one. So what I do is go to imagecolorpicker.com. I upload my image, and then I basically just hover over the pixel I want to get the color of. I copy what they call a hex code, which is basically a serial number for the particular color. And then I copy it. And then I select what I want to change, apply a custom color, paste the hex code here. And there you have it. So cute, right? Can even work with blue. So you want to copy blue and then just select it again and paste the hex color. So cute. But I like the pink one better. I just think it's a little bit more dominant than blue. You can do whatever you like as long as it's neat and it's clean and it's very simple. The next thing that I do is actually a agenda slide, and it acts as a divider. I basically duplicate the slide again, but this time I'm going to make the key visual a lot smaller, right? So it's just like there, and I put this here as well, right? And then same thing, I'm gonna stretch this out here and then nudge it a little bit to cover that white line. And then I'm gonna duplicate this again, but this time I'm going to flip it vertically so that I can isolate the top part, right? And put it here. So, and then I'm gonna make sure that this aligns with the slide. Usually it should snap. And then I'm gonna get that square and then just like put it over here. And nobody has to know. Flip it. Like for somebody who has really sensitive eyes, you can see that there's a little bit of color mismatch here. So probably also flip it vertically. Bam, almost invisible. And then typically I don't want to, go overboard with the script font. I just select a different kind of sans serif font. My second favorite sans serif font is this thing called Railway. It's just really cute as well. So I'm just going to put Agenda. And then depending on your style, I just made it like small caps. I'm going to move this logo over here. Wait. Order, bring it to font before you move it. So it kind of balances what's there. And then this amazing report is going to contain my points from my outline. So I'm going to have performance, highlights, and strategy. Paste that, make it white, make it roboto thin, make it smaller than this. Where is it? So I want to do like a 36 or a little bit smaller. 24 smaller, 22. Perfect. And then I just put it up. And I remove this thing. There you go. You want to add some spacing. So you want to do like a 1.5 so that it's just cleaner. And to signal to the audience that, hey, we're already talking about this particular section, I typically make it bold or make it a different color. But since this is already a different color, it's okay to just make it white. And then I add an arrow to make it extremely literal. But I use like this thing called a chevron. So that's super cute. Remove the outline by making it transparent and fill it as white to go with the rest of your, where is it? Oh, to go with the rest of your font. Bam, you just got an agenda slide, girl. To make this into a divider slide, right, you want to make sure you copy paste it. And then by the time that you get to the highlights one, you want to put your arrow there, boom. So that, for example, hey, performance, blah, 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 blah. Now we're at highlights. So works perfectly as a divider slide to visually signal to your audience that we're moving along to the next thing, okay? And then the last slide that you do is the content slide. I typically start with a blank, either white or black background. And I'm going to choose white just because this is already very dark blue. So I'm going to stick with white, and then I copy the original key visual as well. And then just crop it a little bit like so, just so you still have a little bit of the theme and the color scheme going on. So this can be just an accent, right? Just to make sure that it's still consistent with the previous designs. And then let's take these, copy paste it. Want to make sure that your font sizes are consistent. I would do black on white. Black is usually a little harsh, so I do like a gray. And then this is your agenda. This could be your content. Sometimes I put this thing called a header, so I'm just going to make it smaller. This is your header describing that entire slide in one sentence. Boom, right? So for example, I just want to make it a single line space here. Usually what people typically type here is like, year-on-year performance attributed to aggressive paid social media advertising. Something like that. This is supposed to be performance, right? So you're describing that this is what you achieved as your performance. And then this could be like the body. I don't even paste entire, what do you call this, like paragraphs. I just paste phrases. Like for example, it's a great example. Achieved, for example, 150% of 2019 target. Let's remove our spacing. And then we're going to do something like delivered under budget. And what do you call this? Delivered under budget and something like before the deadline. I want to make sure that you write these really strongly, right? Ahead of schedule. Yes, girl. Yep, whatever. So basically, you can just make, certain things bold here. So that's the first thing that people are going to see, like, oh, you got 20%, 150% of target. And then your image, I usually paste an image here, which is relating to this, maybe an example of the social media advertising that you did. Make sure that there's considerable space here and that everything is aligned, for example. So you have it, right? And that is how you make a very simple, very cute PowerPoint presentation. So let's try to do another example. What if you have been asked to create a business strategy presentation? So it's a little bit more formal-ish. That's the time that I visit these royalty-free image stock repositories like Pixels and Pixabay and Unsplash. I just type like forest wallpaper, something that is a little bit more like a photograph that I can use. I just enter random keywords like winter landscape, or for example, desert landscape, and I saw this and I really, really liked it. So I basically downloaded that for free and then pasted it on my presentation. So this is a little bit more straightforward. You're just going to make sure that you crop it to the size of your slide. And then I'm just gonna zoom out. So you see the entire image is this big, but you're going to resize it just a little bit. or like so, just to fill the entire slide. And then same thing. Oh, I try to do the same thing here. I insert my text box. For example, strategy 2020. And then another sub header, amazing presentation for the future. Make sure you refine your text. I'm going to just put this in white for now. I want a different font this time. I'm going to choose this very bold font. Let's do a 44. Actually, let's make it all caps even. Strategy 2020. Amazing presentation for the future. Put it here. I don't know why I never usually put like text in the middle of the photo. I just prefer it to be in a particular place. And then this is the time that I select a highlight color that's not in my image. I usually like yellow just because it's really striking that you see it immediately. I'm going to use Roboto again just because it's really nice and thin, or just make this a little bit lighter. Something like that, right? And then same thing goes. You can put something here at the bottom. For example, your name. Right. Get just a tad bit smaller than that. Boom. And then same thing here. You can actually put the logo like black just because it already contrasts. But if you can, and if the brand permits it, you can always recolor it to white just so it matches everything, right? So there your title slide, right? And to create a title, an agenda slide for a photo like this, what I typically do is, now that I've duplicated the slide, I'm going to zoom out and try to resize the image so that I basically cut out the sky and it's just all of the canyons that you see here. There. And then I'm just going to move these to the left. Move these here and get back to them in a bit. What I'm going to do is like, you know, a classic thing that I usually use. So I create a rectangle and then I make it transparent. Let's make it black first, right? So this could literally already be your agenda slide, right? But if you're feeling a little bit extra, you can add this kind of, right? Same height. Remove it, make it black. Boom. Just a little bit more diagonal, right? So dynamic. But the thing is, right, I want to match the color on some of the tones here. So I go again to color picker, upload my photo, and I want to get some of these reds that I'm seeing here. That's really nice. And then select both of these things, fill them with your new custom color. Boom, so cute. And if you want to be even more extra than that, the thing that I do a lot of the time is just like add another triangle here, right? Remove it, and then add a line here, just so it's so dynamic. Make this the same you did this one, a little bit thicker, and then make this the foreground, and then get a more purple color like that, and then fill it up with a purple that you just got. Bam. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen or what? Bam. Bam. You can make this a little bit smaller. And sometimes there's like, it could be nice if it's like uneven like that. You could even put 2, but I think it's a little overkill, so just put 1. And then the text that I set aside here, I'm just going to bring it back, put it, order it to front, all right? And then delete my name, probably move the logo to the right, make sure we're here to the left, right? We'll see where this goes. So this is going to be your agenda. All caps again with a yellow. And then let's just copy the previous one just for the sake of example. Same thing. And then I literally also use this or another kind of arrow, but it's kind of the same. And I don't like this to be there. Bam! Isn't that the cutest thing in the world right now? Right? Right? And it's just like shapes that you fill out different size. You can even like adjust this. Just so it looks cute. That's cute. I like it. I'm not mad at it. And then you make your content slide. I want to use white still. And then just gonna copy this and crop it. Maybe I like, yeah, it's cute. This time I can put it here above. Same thing, right? And then same thing, but since the yellow doesn't contrast with the white, I'm gonna select the magenta here and make this, and just basically copy paste what we did here a while ago. So let's say this is your performance. And then just do the same thing. Copy your image. And you're done. You're done. It's that simple, right? And you just copy paste the whole thing. This is one of my all-time favorite designs that I did for another company that I just changed the images to sanitize it, but it's essentially the same principle. I just literally created like these triangular things and I played around with the transparency levels here so that, you know, you kind of can see it through, then laid another rectangle triangle here. And then I also did the same duplication and mirroring of the images to create like a longer background. And this is one of my favorite like agenda slides as well. I just basically put a color legend here. And I also put like numbers that changed color against the gradient of the backdrop. And then these particular things here for your divider slides that I created separately acts as a signaler or like a breadcrumb that's going to tell your audience that, oh, you're still at number 1. And on the next slide, oh, now we're on the next number 2, number 3, and then I just tried to do, you know, different configurations of the triangles and do that. And then in the content slide, same thing, I added it so that people can instantly know what part of the presentation they're already in, so that it also moves as you go along. Another type of thing that I usually do when I have a lot of photos is do some kind of like collage. So this is just like a bunch of photos that I lay out and then I put kind of like a caption at the bottom. But the idea is you should be like taking the audience through the different photos that you're presenting. Same is true with this one. So that's been simple and beautiful presentations. I hope you guys learned something, and I can't wait to see stuff that you guys make.